Hey everyone, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft Dragonflight Alpha video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Priest talent trees, the new talent trees that are going to be available in Dragonflight. In particular, we're going to be looking at the Shadow tree in today's video. The goal here is to look at the talents and kind of see what's available, and we're going to create a build that's going to be good for open world content, leveling, questing, world quest grinding, that kind of stuff, and just kind of see what we can come up with. That being said, before we get started in this video, I wanted to ask you guys to please let me know via comments, likes, shares, views, etc., whether or not you're enjoying this series and whether or not you want to see more content from me post-alpha. I'm using these videos as a judge just to kind of find out what sort of level of interest there is for any content to be made beyond the alpha, and I really am going to use this info to help me decide whether or not to make videos once the alpha is over, or whether or not, you know, I'm just going to kind of make this series and then call it good. So please let me know. Alright, that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started here. We got our action bars clear. We're going to hop in. We are Spec Shadow, and it looks like we are given Shadow Word Death as our default ability from the talent tree before we invest any points. Now, before we get into the actual talents, we're going to look in our spellbook and kind of see what we're given as a Priest. I'm going to preface this whole video by saying Priest is my least favorite class. It's my least played class. It's the one I'm the least familiar with, and so we're gonna roll with it and see what we can do here. I'm gonna try my best. That being said, as we do go through the spellbook and the talent trees and everything, I'm not gonna dive deep into every single ability. We're gonna look through. I'm gonna assume you have a working knowledge of Priest, and then I'm gonna look through for anything I need a refresher on or anything that looks new, which, given it's Priest, is probably going to be a lot. So I am a little more familiar with Shadow Priest. It is what I play the most, and I actually had a fun build for Shadowlands that I enjoyed. So I definitely want to see if I can recreate that, but we're going to get in here and check things out. So we have Desperate Prayer. That's a little bit of a defense for us. We're going to have Fade, also potentially defense. We got our Flash Heal that we can throw in there. We got Levitate, Mind Blast, kind of core to our rotation. We got Power Word Fortitude for a nice little buff there. Power Word Shield, also going to be important. Psychic Scream for crowd control. We got our Shadow Word Death here as well, which is going to be a little execute ability. We got Shadow Word Pain, a good daunt we can have. Then we have Smite, which is kind of odd to have, but we'll throw it down there. Then we have Focused Will for a passive as a Priest. Melee attacks against you cause you to gain Focused Will, which reduces damage you take by 15% for 8 seconds. Over in Shadow, we do have access to our Shadow form, which I usually forget to apply. So if I forget to apply that later, please forgive me. And then we have some passives. So we have our Mastery. Damage is increased for each of Shadow Word Pain, Vampiric Touch, and Devouring Plague on the target. During Void form, all targets receive the maximum effect. We also have Void Bolt. For the duration of Void form, our Void Eruption ability is replaced with Void Bolt. And then we have Void form, activated by casting Void Eruption. Twist your Shadow form, and gives us increased spell damage, additional charge of Mind Blast, and refreshing Mind Blast's cooldown. I'm assuming that we're going to have to pick that up somewhere when we get over here. So we'll look into that as we go. Or we may end up picking it up in here somewhere. So we're going to go through the tree. We're going to spend a little bit of time over here on the class side of the talent tree. Since this is the first video that we're doing for Priest, we're going to go through the tree and we're going to check out the active abilities that we can get first, which are the ones in these boxes here. Then we're going to look at our choices, which are the ones that have the little arrows on them. And then finally, we'll look at the passives, which are the circle nodes by themselves, as we kind of go through and actually make the build. So, it looks like we have a pretty clearly defined like shadow side and not shadow side. And I'm sure we're going to kind of run into some discipline-y stuff versus some holy stuff as we kind of break this out as well. keep in mind we're looking for stuff that's going to be good for open world content. So we're looking for low cooldowns, movement speed, survivability, stuff like that. So let's take a look. So we already have Shadow Word Death. Over here we can get Prayer of Mending. Usually the higher up on the tree that stuff is, the more important it is for you to get. So this is going to put a ward on an ally that heals them the next time they take damage. Then we'll jump to another ally. Can jump 5 times and last 30 seconds after each jump. I'm not sure if that'll jump between us, like jump on us multiple times. It probably won't. We'll probably just get the one heal from it, which is not like great. But we may end up needing to take this to get access to some other stuff. Maybe not. We'll see. We do have Renew. So that is going to do our heal over time, which is a nice one to have in general. So we may just, pick that up to get into this. We've got Purify Disease, which we don't really care about in open world content. We got Dispel Magic, which we also don't really care about. We got Power Infusion. So this is going to increase haste by 25%. Pretty good cooldown to use, 2 minutes. It's okay for open world content. We prefer to go for something a little bit faster, but it looks like it's tied to a lot of abilities, so we're probably going to have to pick it up. And it's not a bad ability anyway. Then we have a whole row of active abilities here. So we have Holy Nova, so that does an explosion of holy damage and heals. We've got Leap of Faith, which we definitely don't need to get. We've got Mass Dispel, which we don't need. We've got Mind Control, which is fine. And then we have Shadow Fiend, which we are going to want. Moving on, we've got Shackle the Undead, whatever. And then we have Holy Word Life. So this is going to heal the target. If the target is not below 20% health, the caster takes damage equal to the amount healed. Healing is increased by 150% to targets below 20% health. That actually seems like okay. As something to be able to throw out on yourself in a bad situation in open world content. Is it going to be worth going down this entire side of the tree? Probably not. And then here we have Mind Games. 45-second cooldown. Assault the enemy's mind, dealing a bunch of damage, and briefly reversing the perception of reality for 5 seconds. The next 5.5k damage they deal will heal their target, and the next healing they deal will damage their target. So, again, most likely your enemies out in the open world are not going to be healing anyone, so this is just going to translate into dealing a chunk of damage and then getting healing every time the enemy damages you, which is okay, and it's closer to the side of the tree we probably want to be on. Based on the active abilities I'm seeing, like, absolutely. Oh, we missed Shadow Mend. So wrap an ally in shadows which heal, but as a price. They're going to take damage until they leave combat, basically. But based on what I'm seeing here, I'm definitely leaning towards the right side as where we want to go. So let's look at our one choice we have right here. So we can pick Angelic Feather or Body and Soul. So that's going to be our movement speed. It's nice that they put that right there at the beginning. So just based off that, yeah, I'm looking more towards the right side. Maybe going down the middle, but probably not. So let's kind of start making this build and look at some of the passives we have. So we do have Focus Mending. Prayer of Mending does 45% increased healing to the initial target. That makes it a little bit better on yourself. It's still not all that much. I feel like someone over here is making a lot of noise. We're going to back up a little bit, hopefully get out of range of their sound effects. Okay. Yeah, I don't feel like that's necessary. Over here, what are we going to lose access to if we don't head this direction? Prayer of Mending has a chance to leave or renew. Healing is increased on targets with renew. Prayer of Mending has a chance to not consume a charge when it jumps. You regenerate mana faster. That's actually solid. How do we get there, though? Probably go through renew. to renewed faith to enlightenment, I think. Smite deals increased damage. I can't remember if we end up using smite or not. This is one where I'd have to get over into the shadow side of things and see. I want to say we do use smite. So increased damage there. Actually, it might be renew to here, to here, to here. All right, over on this side, we got Mind Blast cooldown reduce. We definitely want to get that. We got to get Dispel Magic to get that, which kind of sucks. When you cast Shadow Man on yourself, its damage over time effect heals you instead and reduces all damage you take by 10%. Okay, yep, we're grabbing that. That was pretty easy. Shadow Word Death's cooldowns reduced by 10 seconds. We definitely want that. Mind Blast prevents the next 5,000 something damage dealt by the enemy. Super dope. We got to put 3 points in here as well. So as of right now, I'd probably go 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on what these are. So the cooldown reduction is really good. Shadow Man has a 15% chance to deal no damage. We no longer need that, right? Because now the damage over the time is going to heal us. So we don't need that. After healing a target below 35% health, you deal increased damage and increased healing for 10 seconds. So let yourself get down below 20% health. Slam that and go. We're going to want to get Shadow Fiend anyway, so we have to pick this up. Okay, below 35% health, so that's pretty good. We need 1 more point. I think we're going to want to reduce the cooldown on Mind Blast one way or the other. It's actually turned into a lot of points, potentially, because we want to come back and we definitely want to get one of the movement speed buffs as well. So let's continue on and see what we get. We're going to want Shadow Fiend for sure. I don't care about any of the rest of this stuff over here. But we may care about some of the passives here. So let's see. What are we missing out on here? Power Word Shield is active. Smite deals additional damage. Holy Nova. Spell Magic and all that costs less. No. Control your own character. No. Shadow Fiend and Dominant Mind increase your mastery by 75 while active. Okay. Shadow Fiend generates 3 insanity for you each time it attacks. Yeah, we want that. Okay, we got to invest 10 points, so I think this is okay. Shadow Word Pain deals an additional 5% over duration. When an enemy dies while afflicted by Shadow Word Pain, you gain 5% insanity and mana. Okay, so that goes up to 10% and 10. We'll get the increased mastery. We'll get our movement speed buff. Which I think, you know, it's really just comes down to preference, whatever you want to do here. We'll go with the Feather. Into Purify Disease, into Smite's damage. We will grab the cooldown reduction on Mind Blast as well. I think we're good there. Could drop a point out of this and pick up Renew. Like, drop 2 points out and pick these up if we want. Or we could go into the Regenerate Mana faster. There's a couple of options here. Generally speaking, mana shouldn't be an issue on a non-healer. So I don't think we need to worry about it. But we'll see. Okay, so now we basically have one tree we can go down with our 6 points that are available. So what are we missing here? Renew heals for additional. Mana cost is reduced. All above 75% health. Cast times of your stuff is reduced. Power Infusion grants you 100% of its effects when used on an ally. Power Word Shield on the ally shields you. Yeah, so this is like discipline type stuff. Yeah, we don't care. So we're going to go into Mindbender. Increase the attack speed. And Mind Blast and Shadow Word Death cause your Shadow Fiend to teleport behind your target. Yeah, that's super cool. And we got 2 points left. So I think, you know, we can pick up Power Infusion for 1 point. And then possibly pick up 5% mana regen. Why not? That looks pretty solid to me. You know, we're not min-maxing too hard here. We're going to end up testing all this stuff anyway before we do any sort of beginner's guide or anything like that. So now we have Shadow Mend. Spell Magic, I don't care. I don't care about Purified Disease. We got our big Power Infusion buff. We have our Mindbender as well. Alright. So really what we're going to be doing here is putting our Shadow Word Pain on, spamming Mind Blast, and that's on cooldown right now. We're going to be spamming Smite, and we're going to have our Power Word Shield up. So basically, without getting into our spec tree, we're basically going boom. Technically, I think we would Mind Blast first, just for the cast time. We don't have any synergies where that really matters, so that's what our cheesy little rotation looks like right now. Obviously, we could pop Mindbender. And then we have Shadow Word Death. Like, where did you go? Why did you come off? It won't work against the target dummy, which sucks because the build that I like is very Shadow Word Death focused, so it'll be hard to test here. But we are going to, in a future video, go through and test out all of the specialization builds in open world content to see how they do, see kind of what changes and adjustments we want to make. Alright, so I feel pretty good about this overall. Now we're going to get into the actual specialization tree here for Shadow. So we're going to do the same thing, go through, look at our active abilities, look at our choices, then look at our passives as we build. We have to take Mind Flay, which is fine. Mind Flay is our replacement, pretty much, for Smite. That's what we're going to be doing. It's going to generate Insanity for us. That basically means we can pull points out of Smite if we want to. Put them into Mana Regeneration, or we could put them into picking up Renew, just to have an additional, like, damage over time we could use, although we may not be able to cast that in shadow form. Anyway, so we could grab, I don't know, Mind Control, you know, whatever floats our boat here. Might have a couple of loose points. Alright, so then we have Vampiric Touch. So this is an additional dot that will heal you. Very nice. We have Devouring Plague, which now requires shadow form. Okay, that's fine. This is another dot. Super good. The build that I used revolved around casting this, among multiple other things. We also have Mind Seer, which becomes the AoE version of Mind Flay. So good stuff there. We've got Silence, so our interrupt on a 45-second cooldown, which is insane. This is going to reduce it to 30, which is still just insane. It's like twice the length of most interrupt effects, if not more than twice the effect of most interrupt effects. It's always really sucked on Priest. Now we got Vampiric Embrace. So this causes you to heal a nearby ally for any single target shadow damage you deal. We got Void Eruption, which will put us into Void form if that's what we want to do. We got Psychic Horror, so this is a 45-second stun. We got Damnation, which basically puts 3 of your damage over time abilities onto the target all at once. We got Shadow Crash, which is a AoE shadow damage ability. We got Void Torrent, which is a channeled damage over time ability that generates a bunch of insanity for you. And that's it. So based on that, I mean, we're going to pick up this top, like this row. We're just going to grab that. Those are just all really solid abilities. I missed Dispersion. So this reduces all damage taken, but you're unable to attack or cast spells. It's okay. We're definitely going to get Silence as well to have that. I don't really care about Vampiric Embrace. Void Eruption, it kind of depends. I feel like we're going to be forced into it. Don't really care about Psychic Horror. Damnation is okay, but not necessary if you are just cool to manually put your dots on a target. Shadow Crash and Void Torrent are okay. I personally would opt for Void Torrent to have a single target increased damage dealing ability here. So as of right now, given the fact that I don't like Vampiric Embrace and Shadow Crash is like okay, I'm leaning more towards the right side, the middle. But let's take a look at the choices we have. So starting up here, we have a choice between reducing the cooldown of Psychic Scream by 30 seconds. So that will drop it down to a 30-second cooldown. Which Psychic Scream is absolutely just chaotic in open world content, and I don't love it unless you absolutely have to use it. Or we can get Mind Bomb, inflicts the target with a Mind Bomb. After 2 seconds or when they die, they unleash a Psychic Explosion, disorienting all enemies within 8 yards. That to me is better, because Disorient, they don't run away across half the map and aggro 18 other things. Here we have a choice between Searing Nightmare or Misery. So Misery causes your Vampiric Touch to also apply Shadow Word Pain, and Shadow Word Pain lasts an additional amount. This is really handy for dot applications in general. And then Searing Nightmare costs 30 Insanity and deals shadow damage to the target and all enemies around the target, and inflicts them with Shadow Word Pain. If they already have Shadow Word Pain, the damage is increased. So that's really nice to complement the AoE, right? So I think this depends on how you play. Do you single pull or do you pull 2 or 3 enemies? Because if you do, then you get Searing Nightmare. If you go single target, then Misery is pretty nice. Down here we have a choice between Surrender to Madness or Hungering Void. Surrender to Madness will deal damage to a target and activate Void form. For the next 30 seconds, you double your amount of insanity that you generate. And then if the target doesn't die within 30 seconds, you die. Hungering Void causes Void Bolt to cause the target to become vulnerable, increasing their damage taken. And then casting it on an enemy that is already vulnerable extends the duration of Void form. I don't like either one of those. Like, I just don't want to play into those mechanics. So, unlikely that we'll go down that part of the tree. Alright, then we have a choice down here between Idol of Yasharaj. Shadow Fiend causes you to gain a benefit based on your target's current emotional state. That's weird and sounds interesting. So now I'm like, ooh, maybe I want to go down this side. Idol of Nazoth, damage dealt by Shadow Word Pain, Vampiric Touch, and Devouring Plague, has a 20% chance to apply Echoing Void. Each time Echoing Void is applied, it has a chance to collapse, dealing 62 shadow damage to all nearby enemies with until no stacks remain. Okay, this node just sounds cool, and I hope the passives leading up to it are interesting, because I'm getting all kinds of like funky vibes over here that sound pretty cool. Okay, over here we have Idol of Yogg-Saron. After conjuring 50 shadowy apparitions, you summon a thing from beyond that serves you for 20 seconds and blast enemies for shadow damage. Or Idol of Cthulhu. Mind Flay and Mind Seer have a chance to spawn a Void Pendril or Void Lasher that channels at your target for 15 seconds, generating insanity. Okay, that sounds pretty cool too. I think admittedly I like this other side better. Are we still too close? Why do you have to be so loud, Mr. Dragon? Okay, so now I really don't know. I really don't know what we're doing. Like, this stuff sounds cool. I like the dot build. Especially combined with this. If a target dies within 7 seconds after being struck by your Shadow Word Death, you gain 40 insanity over 4 seconds, and the cooldown on Shadow Word Death is reset. So basically what I would do for my build is I would dot the target up, get them close to dying. We'd throw Devouring Plague, which does a bunch of damage. And then when they get down, we would Death and Madness, which would boost our insanity back up. And that would cause us to be able to recast Devouring Plague pretty quickly. And we just repeat that cycle over and over again. And that's really what I want to do. That's what I like and enjoy doing. So I'd like to continue to do that. So we'll see if we can. Let's get into the passives. We're definitely going to pick up Death and Madness. Over here, Mind Flay and Mind Blast deal more damage and generate more insanity. That's okay. we may pick that up. But let's look at what else we have available to us. I really don't care about Dispersion, Psychic Horror. Dispersion heals for 50% of your max health over its duration. It has a 30-second reduced cooldown. That makes it a little bit better, but it still puts it at 90. And there's a lot of good stuff in here so far. Reduce the cooldown of Interrupt is good. Vampiric Touch. Periodic damage has a chance to reset the cooldown on Mind Blast. Yes, and that gives Mind Blast an additional charge. And then over here, do we have to take one of these? If we take one of these, what happens? After casting Vampiric Touch on your target, your next Vampiric Touch within 8 seconds is instant cast and deals damage immediately. That's interesting. So we could pick up Mind Bomb into Unfurling Darkness. We could just reduce the targets, or reduce our cooldown on Silence. Or we could pick up Misery. I'm just going to pick up Misery. That's going to help us apply our dots faster and more regularly. So now we just have to cast Vampiric Touch, and then I'll also put Shadow Word Pain on the target. Okay, moving on. Void Eruption. We basically want Void Eruption because otherwise we have nothing to spend our Insanity on. Yeah, I don't think we get anything. I mean, our Insanity is basically there to have us Void Erupt. But we'll see. Maybe we don't need it. I don't want either one of these. And I don't want that. Let's see if we can avoid it. I don't know if we should. I really don't know if we should avoid it. I think I avoided it. No, you had to take it. I would like to avoid it. So let's see what we can do. While channeling Mind Flay or Mind Sear, the rate of your Vampiric Touch or Shadow Word Pain on your current target is increased by 100%. That's pretty spicy. I like it. That pulls us into Damnation. And then reduce the cooldown of Damnation by 15 seconds. So every 30 seconds, we can inflict a target with Shadow Word Pain, Vampiric Touch, and Devouring Plague. All in one go. That's pretty spicy and seems really good. If we hit a period where we can't cast Devouring Plague, it's probably really good for the initial ramp up while we get into our rotations. So I do like that column quite a bit. While not in Void form, Mind Flay has a 5% chance to allow you to cast Void Bolt. Okay, so we don't even have to go like Void form. Let's look again real quick. Void form increases spell damage by 20%, grants an additional charge of Mind Blast, and refreshes Mind Blast cooldown. So I mean, it is something we can use for 20% increased spell damage. I still don't know if we care though. Like, I kind of really want to try a build without this. Alright, then we could get Void Torrent. And from there, we can go into Mind Blast, increase damage, and 10% chance to make your next Devouring Plague cost no Insanity. That definitely ties into what we're doing, for sure. Monomania also increases the critical strike chance of Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch. Monomania. Okay, this one here. Mind Flay and Mind Sear damage has a chance to extend Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain by 2 seconds. Vampiric Insight has a greater chance to occur. Which one is that? It's got to be one that's connected. The hell? Vampiric Insight. That's not... Is that a passive of ours? No. Which one is it? . not sure. I may just be missing it somewhere. That's okay. And then here we have our like random idols. So I like this here. This is like kind of like okay stuff here. The Mind Blast causing Devouring Plague to cost no insanity is pretty cool. But let's see what we get from coming down the other side. When you use Mind Blast, Devouring Plague, or Void Bolt, you also create a shadowy version of yourself that floats toward the target afflicted by your vampire touch and deals shadow damage. So okay, we got the shadowy apparitions. They deal increased damage and generate insanity. Mind Blast deals 30% of the effect of its damage to all other targets afflicted by your vampire touch. Going into kind of the AoE thing, plus Shadow Crash. Healing from Vampiric Touch when you're at max health will give you a shield. That's pretty cool. While shielded, Vampiric Touch and Devouring Plague deal additional damage. Vampiric Touch critical strikes have a 5% chance to create a shadowy apparition. Apparitions have a 10% chance to become infused with the void, dealing additional damage. How do you get to this? You can't even get to this right now. While you have Shadow Word, Pain, Devouring Plague, and Vampiric Touch active on the same target, your Mind Blast deals 20% more damage. That seems good, but I don't think I would go down this route just to get it. And then this here, Consuming Vampiric Insight. What the heck is Vampiric Insight? Why am I missing this? Causes your shadow to animate after a moment. 10 seconds when you cast a spell, the shadow will cast a similar spell. Okay, so what do we have in the bottom here? Because right now I'm leaning towards the right side over the left side. But what do we have here? After conjuring apparitions, this seems backwards. This one should be over here, shouldn't it? Because you're not picking anything to conjure apparitions over on this side. That seems backwards to me. Mind Flame, Mind Seer have a chance to spawn a Void Tendril. I mean, that one makes sense. This one doesn't make sense. What about over here? Shadow Fiend causes you to gain a benefit. Damage dealt by Shadow Word Pain. I feel like N'Zoth is supposed to be over here. I feel like these are a little messed up. So I like Idol of N'Zoth. I like Idol of Yasharaj. Cthulhu is okay. If these weren't mixed up, which I feel they're mixed up, I would take Idol of N'Zoth for sure. If it was over here, we would be going right side all day. I think we're still going right side. For these three. At least we have 9 points left. I like that one. Void Torrent, 30-second cooldown, Insanity Generator. What are we doing with our Insanity? Anything? I feel like I need an Insanity Spender. We spend our Insanity on Void Bolt, don't we? Nope, it generates Insanity. What are we missing here? Yeah, we're just generating Insanity. Let's take our 6 points and let's get where we need to get over here. That's what we're going to do. We don't need apparitions. I mean, at this point, we got to spend 2 points. Let's get Void Eruption. And reduce the cooldown on Silence. So now we have 5 points. Ideally, what I would be doing is I would be going here to here to this guy. But I don't think, like I said, I think they're mixed up. So we'll get the shield. We'll get the shield to increase Devouring Plague's damage. And somehow that doesn't give us enough points to get to the... This tree is messed up. This tree is messed up. There's no way, like, we shouldn't be able... You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to spend 1 point to unlock this tier. And then we can't even get to this. I mean, it could be because we have to level up. Yeah, you know what? We probably have to level up to get any of that. So I think we're just going to go with this. All right. So we won't really be able to test this build against the target dummies because it is based on like getting resets on our Shadow Word Death. But we can kind of look at the general principle. So we're not really going to have Shadow Word Pain. It's going to be like an alt ability here because our Vampiric Touch is going to apply Shadow Word Pain for us. Then we're going to have our Mind Flay. Mind Flay as our main ability, so we get to ditch Smite. So like I said, we'll pull Smite out of those points. We'll go ahead and do that like right now. Just for the sake of it. Yeah, we'll just regenerate mana faster and mind control. Sure. Alright, so we have mind control for CC. We have Shadow Crash. Void Torrent. We got Damnation. Void Eruption. So many cooldowns. Devouring Plague. And Mind Seer. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to Vampiric Touch to apply our stuff. We're going to Mind Blast just to get those off cooldown. We're going to Mind Flay. When we have enough Insanity, we'll cast Devouring Plague. When the target is close to dead, we'll hit Devouring or Shadow Word Death. That'll kill the target, give us a big boost of Insanity, and we will repeat the process on a new target. However, we won't be able to do that against the target dummy because we won't be able to use Shadow Word Death and get the reset. We can use Shadow Word Death, not against the dummies. Well, we can. But it just works against us because if the target doesn't die, we take damage. Now, all that being said, we have a bunch of extra buttons that we can hit here. So we have a 26-second cooldown, we have a 30-second cooldown, we have a 30-second cooldown, minute and a half, 2 minutes, and 1 minute. So, come over here. We can pop our Mindbender. We'll cast a Mind Blast. Apply Vampiric Touch. Channel our Mind Flay. We have Devouring Plague now. We don't have Shadow Form. My bad. We can cast Void Bolt. Or not. Oh, we're getting a lot of free, getting a lot of free Void, Devouring Plagues there. Seriously? Look at... Is that bugged? Like, why can we just infinitely spam that? That seems wrong. Also, why won't it let us use this? Oh, requires Void Form. okay, I see. So it requires void form. Wait, while not in void form, Mind Flay has a 10% chance to allow you to cast Void Bolt. Oh, I see. I see. It's because we don't actually have Void Bolt. Does that work? Does that let us do it? Let's find out. Alright, apply all this stuff to the target. Let's go. It doesn't work. So that is an issue that needs to be reported. Alright, well, like I said, this build is going to be really hard to test against the target dummies because we can't get that flow into the rotation of being able to cast Shadow or Death and getting the insanity back for Devouring Plague. Although, honestly, like I feel like this is bugged. Whatever's happening there feels bugged. If it's not, then like we don't even need the the 40 insanity regeneration. We do want the Shadow Word Death cooldown reset though, so that we can use it on every enemy. So yeah, this is going to be one that we're going to have to look at once we get out into the open world and test it out, which we'll do in a future video. We'll take each of the builds we have for each spec out, and we'll try them out in open world content, see how they do, see if we need to make some adjustments, etc. So is this the best build in the world? No. This is just a first look. Like, here's what I came up with on the fly. But I think it's close enough to the build I was using before that it should work pretty effectively. We'll have to see. And yeah, there seems to be some wonky things going on in the talent tree here on the shadow side in particular. I'm not sure. We got some bugged abilities. We got some not yet implemented stuff. It's alpha, right? But we'll be sure to do the best we can with what we have and keep an eye on changes and updates. So that being said, I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Appreciate you watching it. And let me know again via the comments, likes, etc. if you're enjoying the series and want to see more of it. And I will catch you on the next video.